Hi, Tracy, KYTO Denver. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I love the story about Baz sending you a guitar to try out for the role, and all I could think is one, you're playing BB King, so it's like they sends you a guitar. It's like sending a football to somebody and saying throw it like Peyton Manning, like
Literally. Literally.
like, okay, how much guitar? I mean, what level were you on when you're playing the greatest of all time?
Level 0. Ground level. I get a little, because I was in lockdown in the quarantine in Australia, and I get a knock on the door, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Because we get meals outside the door. We couldn't leave. So I was like a guest. I was like, oh, I'm scared. And then they were like, yes, Lucille is here. Well, tell her to come in. Why not? And then they sent me a box and it's a guitar, and I was like, this man is just hilarious. But I picked at it, and I did my best.
Where are you now with playing guitar?
I'm still at ground level.
You picked it very well.
Thank you.
That's why you're a good actor.
It's an acting gig.
Yeah.
There we go.
When you said Lucy, it was like you're like, oh, is this like what BB King did? Yeah.
I was like, oh, interesting. We're sending yeah.
Present.
Right.
So how much were you aware of Elvis and BB's relationship? Did you know that? I had no idea until I saw the movie. Were you aware of it? And then did you find out any surprises after you did your research about their friendship?
I didn't know anything about it. I mean, I obviously knew who Elvis Presley was, and I obviously knew who BB King was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that necessarily they were friends.
Yeah.
And I looked up the photos, and at first I was like, is this fabricated? I was like, is this
Yeah.
real? And then I looked it up.
Historical fiction.
Yeah, I was like, okay, interesting. I was like, likely story, yeah, for sure. Elvis was hanging out in Bill Street. And then I see them like taking a photo together, and I was like, these both were really actually hanging out.
Yeah.
So I started just researching and just hearing BB talk about Elvis and how much he loved him and appreciated the fact that he would come by and the brotherhood and just the mutual respect for what each other was doing and the access that he had that got to be transferred to BB in return and vice versa.
Yeah.
So.
Now, did you and Austin ever spend alone time to kind of like cultivate that? Or when you met, you were like, hey, bro, like you just hit it, you had that natural chemistry?
I knew him before the movie, so I kind of already like kind of knew him, but and I think when we started it, like the first night, I texted him. I was like, "Hey, I just got here. What are you guys doing?" He was like, "Come to dinner. Come to dinner, man." And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, Mr. Presley."
Yeah. Like, I can't play guitar, but
right,
we can hang.
We can hang. But we played card games. We played Uno.
Yeah, because it was obvious. It was very. It was a cool. You could really feel the chemistry and that brotherhood, which I thought you guys did a really good job in. So congratulations.
He was excited too. He was like boys,
You were joking about, Austin doesn't break character. Did you break character on set?
I broke character all the time.
Okay,
I was like,
okay.
at first I tried it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I got to meet this man where he's
Right.
at. I was like, I can't give him anything less. And then I was like, Kelvin, you are not that actor. I was like, this man has been doing this for a year and a half. Like, just give him what you got and leave it there. Otherwise, you just seem a little weird.
Yeah. You also have like the most amazing energy, and I really want to know like what's on your playlist when you're prepping for a role like this, and then also when you're like getting ready for a day on set.
Oh, interesting. Well, it was a lot of BB King. I was listening to a lot of live albums that he used to do. Even Thriller's Gone kept playing in my head just because that was the one I ended up liking the most. And but other than that, what was I listening to? I don't know. I always
listen to on a normal day.
Well, like I listen to a lot of film scores. Honestly, I just hear about new composers, and I'm just like, because it makes me feel like my life is cinematic.
Oh my! I think your life is cinematic. You're literally in the Elvis film.
In a massive motion picture.
But I like that. It's yeah. We call that. We joke about that on my radio show that it's main character energy, and now I'm gonna start listening to film scores. So thank you.
I just heard that this week. My buddy was like, "Oh, I'm the main character," and I was like, "All right."
That's
okay. We'll
they
see.
always joke. Erica's off doing main character energy stuff, and
oh wow, it is.
Honestly,
Wow.
yeah.
Interesting. That's
Amazing.
funny.
It's amazing to see, when you're in the role and you do your thing, that's what you do, that's what you know. On our end, it's like, how the hell did they do something like that so perfectly? And my question is, aside from the music and, learning about the character and who you're playing, how in the world do you prepare for something like that, such an iconic role?
Yeah, well, I think, For me, it's different for everybody, right? Like Austin has all this time to do this crazy performance that honestly I've never seen before in my life. I was kind of like I was blown away every time I saw him step up to me in that whole get up and the voice and everything. But for me, I was like, okay, I don't have as much time, right? I have like 3 to 4 weeks to kind of make this work, and it's not necessarily that much material. I don't have a whole movie to carry, but I do need to represent this man as authentically as possible. So where do I meet B.B. King is the question I ask myself. And I go, I'm from New Orleans. I grew up playing music. My parents are musicians. I'm from the South. You know, I grew up in the church. These are the things that tie me to B.B. King, and I'll make sure I bring that to it. And that's where the energy will come from. And I'll drive it with that and then do a voice and some mannerisms and put on the wig and Big Red. You know what I mean?
But you did it beautifully.
Thank
You really
you.
did.
Kelvin, most people, they kind of get their feet wet. You start out as B.B. King. Was there ever a point that you're like, wait a second, is this a little too much, or no? I got this.
I was like, I felt like I could. Maybe that's the crazy thing about in my head. An actor kind of has to be a little crazy to think that they can do that. You know what I mean? But I was like, I can do this. And then I got there and I was like, I can do this. But you just have fun with it, and that's what Baz promotes all the time. Like he just encouraged us just to have a good time. Let it all hang out.
You mentioned being from New Orleans, and I've said this to different people we've had conversations with. I didn't grow up listening to Elvis, but B.B. King was the king in my house. Yeah. King, Count Basie, just a lot of different musical influences in my home. When I think of New Orleans, I think Lil Wayne. I think Messi. I think Messi Maya. I think Big Frida. I got to ask you, do you listen to hip hop? Is that an influence on you musically?
My parents didn't allow me to listen to hip hop growing up.
Okay,
So
mom
it was,
and dad.
Yeah, they were really intense. So it was only gospel and jazz. My parents are jazz musicians, so I would listen to
Do
Count
they know how
Basie.
much jazz has influenced hip hop?
Yes, they do. My dad teaches
Good,
it now. He's a
good.
music teacher, and now he does teach
Yeah.
hip hop to his students. But I think it took him some time because he was real, he was classically trained saxophonist, so he was real stuck on.
I mean, I
structure
think
and
about
tradition.
Sampha on Drake's Too Much, and I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing.
Yes, yeah. I'm trying to keep up now. I'm trying to get my education as I go along. But I'm still, I don't know, I'm still an old head.
No, that's good. That's good. But I do, you don't have to be an old head or understand new music to think about Messi Maya. I'm glad you said Messi Maya. I was just thinking because he was on the Formation song, Beyonce song.
Mm-hmm.
But Beyonce did not have permission to use that. His estate, I don't know if you know, they sued for $20 million. That is the history of black music in general, and it is wonderful that this movie touches on that. However, artists like Arthur Crudup, who wrote That's All Right Mama and 2 other songs that Elvis covered, have never been compensated. And this movie's going to make a lot of money. Is it fair for these families of these people who invented the music, wrote the music, to go back and seek compensation for what they never received? I mean, to this day, these artists have never been paid. Do you support that?
I mean, I definitely think it's a personal decision, I think, you have to kind of look at your options and what it is. And, every case is different, and how they use the music, how often the music played, all the stats play a part.
These were actually songs that were covered. They weren't even changed. They were actual, they were sang by Elvis Presley, and the estate of Arthur Crudup has not received one dime. Is it fair to ask for that, as Messi Maya's family did from Beyonce?
I mean, like I said, I think it's a personal decision. I mean, I think that whatever their heart leads them to do, and where that ends up, it's hard to say,
Well, I think you did a great job,
Thank you so much.
and I think they should. I just think they should, but I think that your portrayal of B.B. King was wonderful, and he's such an icon. And when you said Lucille came, I knew right away you meant the guitar, because my mom loved him so much. So congratulations.
Thank you. Sweet. It's like, apparently, dim the lights, please. Last night you sang.